Hello, this is Liz Lawless, your host for Wild West Diversity, where we tell the rarely and untold stories of multicultural contributions to the settling of the American Wild West. Each Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, we'll be sharing a historical legend and a living legend. Someone from history and someone living that Western lifestyle today, keeping it alive for the future generation. We hope you'll join us on Thursday. If not, we'll see you on the trail. Hello, this is Liz Lawless, your host for Wild West Diversity, and I'm really very excited. I mean, y'all really can't understand that this is episode 45, season 2. So season 2, episode 45. We did 44 episodes in 2022, and that is the huge success for me because I fought this video stuff for like 5 years. I mean, I've known for 5 years that video was really important and it was going to play a bigger and bigger role in marketing, in content creation, in reaching people with your message and sharing your stories. And I knew that, but I still couldn't talk myself into doing this video stuff because I'm just intimidated for whatever reason. As you can tell, I still have some lighting issues, but I think sound's more important than lights for this kind of thing anyway. And so I really appreciate all of you that have supported the Wild West Diversity, our first year. I appreciate all of the living legends that came on the show. Rodeo announcer Kevin Woodson, photographers John Ferguson, Ed Herman, Corey Poitier, these filmmakers who have captured our rodeo history and our Black cowboys and our Hispanic and Native American and Asian and European cowboys and cowgirls. So it's really been delightful for me to be able to tell these rarely and untold stories and to bring these people to you, to the internet, to our show, Wild West Diversity. And so I just want to thank you for that for 2022. We're kicking off 2023 here. It's like I say, it's just almost unimaginable that a couple of years ago, if you'd have told me we'd be doing this, we'd have this many episodes, I would have laughed in your face. But anyway, so before we start today, we hope we've got a couple of people who are going to jump on with us. But actually, I want to do a shameless plug. I'm doing a shameless plug for our African American Western Legends yesterday. This is our new latest children's book. We'll be promoting that and sending that out. And basically, it's a short story. It's just a short story with these wonderful illustrations. That's Bose Eichert and Isaiah Mays, one of our Buffalo soldiers. So if you've got kids or grandkids, go check this out. It's at Amazon. It's African American Western Legends yesterday. You can type in my name, Elizabeth Lawless, or Western African American Western Legends, and it should come up. And so we appreciate that so much. The other shameless plug I'd like to do today is for the Fort Worth Stock Show. So coming up January the 16th, that's Martin Luther King Day. That kicks off the rodeo season for Cowboys of Color rodeos. And there'll actually be a Mexican rodeo with our wonderful Diaz family on Sunday. And they will be one of the interviewees coming up. One of the shows we'll be doing shortly in the future. This first quarter will be with the Diaz family. That's Jerry and his wife, Stacy, and their son, Nicholas. And they're out of the New Braunfels, San Antonio, Central Texas area where they have a ranch. And they train horses and they perform and they put on events down there at their own facilities. And so then they compete and they do events across the country. You can see them in Denver, it's the National Western, just all kinds of other places. And they're sharing that Mexican American heritage, 6 generations of charros, Mexican charros. So Jerry, Nicholas now coming along, Jerry's father, Jerry's grandfather, Jerry's great grandfather. They were all great charros, great horsemen. And that was a big part of it as people were moving across. I mean, that's where they learned these skills. And we even still have a lot of that in our language today. Lariat, of course, that means rope in Spanish. hacienda. Those that's basically a ranch house. We have these and charro, that's cowboy in Mexican American Spanish. So we have these things in our language, in our culture, in our food, in our music, in our art. And that's collective. That's a collective heritage that we need to learn and figure out and hear about. And so that's why we're here telling these rarely and untold stories. So if you are in the North Texas area, or you can plan a trip to come to Texas, a great way to start off the year is at the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo, the Martin Luther King Day Cowboys of Color Rodeo. It's a matinee show at 2 o'clock on January the 16th, like we mentioned. And it's at the new Dickies Arena, which is a fabulous new facility that seats about 17,000 people. And we'll be putting on the show. So we'll be bringing our Cowboys of Color Rodeo to that arena, to that facility, to share the heritage, the African American heritage specifically, but also that multicultural heritage. So we hope you'll come see us there. If you've not been to the rodeo, we also are planning some additional rodeos. Oklahoma City, the first week in May. We'll be at Mesquite, we hope, in the end of May, Memorial Day weekend. We'll be in Dallas at Fair Park on July the 28th. For the African American Museum fundraiser, the rodeo that actually was the main rodeo that we did every year, that Cleo started with back in 1985. And that's been an annual rodeo that we've done almost every year, except for a couple of years during COVID, obviously, when COVID shut everything down. But we'll continue to do that rodeo this year, and then be back at the state fair later in October. So we hope you'll put that on the schedule. You can go to cowboysofcolorrodeos.com and you can find the new schedule there. And that's our new website. If you'll put your name in and get on the VIP list there, then you'll get to hear about upcoming events and opportunities to maybe meet some of these cowboys and cowgirls that you're seeing here on the show at Wild West Diversity and in other places. So that will be great. We'll hope you'll do that. I don't know if we've got anybody waiting in the wings. If not, maybe Russ wants to jump on here with us and tell us maybe what show was his favorite from some of the shows. Russ is our producer of this show, Wild West Diversity. And so he is a rancher and a cowboy himself. He did some rodeo in his younger days, and he had horses and cows and all kinds of other animals.
I've done a little bit of everything. I've actually been on a cattle drive in Wyoming, and milked cows, rode cows, rode calves, and did a little bit of I've owned horses and property and a little bit of everything. But the thing that I love about Wild West Diversity is learning about the history that is not taught in schools. It's not taught anywhere. And the fact that you're bringing it to the forefront of our attention, especially from a rodeo perspective. I used to love going to the rodeo when I was younger. And, I actually had a shavings business, Liz, where I would sell shavings to horse stalls and ranch owners that needed shavings in their stalls.
Yeah, my brother did it for thoroughbred businesses, for thoroughbred trainers.
Yeah.
So I know exactly.
So there's so many dimensions to this industry that the average individual has no awareness about.
Right. Doesn't know anything about it. Yeah.
And if you could bring awareness to this, and also I like the Buffalo Soldiers. I just thought that was a cool story. Also, who's the sheriff that went after couldn't read?
Bass Reeves. So Bass Reeves. He was the first black marshal west of the Mississippi. He was a part of the it was Indian territory then, and the basic district judge was out of Arkansas, and that was the hanging judge, as a lot of people have heard. A lot of people have seen that movie, maybe with I think Paul Newman and some other stuff. But like you say, I mean, the hard and interesting thing for us, we always love for the stories to be told, But the sad fact is that movies take a lot of license, and most
Yeah.
people, I mean, 80% of people get their history from movies and television, and that's fiction, not fact. So
Yeah.
even some of the more recent movies, I mean, we love that they're bringing these things to the forefront. We love that African Americans are cast and actors and actresses are having that opportunity to play these roles. But even they take license. You know, they're using the names, they're using the characters, but they're putting the characters in scenes that they never existed in.
Right.
And so that's frustrating a little bit for us. It's 50% great. We love to see it. It's 50%. Oh no, here we are. We're going to have to retell that story again and tell the real factual story. This is the factual thing. This is the actual story. This is the actual person. This is what this person actually did, why they were an extraordinary person, even though they were an ordinary individual like you and I, but why their story is important. And so, Stagecoach Mary Fields, we've talked about her. She was the first African American to deliver mail. She's, you know, her character's in one
Wasn't
of
she
these.
the one that owned property as well?
No, that was Henrietta Williams, and
Oh,
so
okay. She's
Henrietta
another
Williams was
interesting
down
character.
in South Texas in the coastal Bend area of Texas, and that was very unusual too. One, she went on cattle drives with men, and then later on, she bought property for $25 a month, and you know, and then when she thought her neighbor was trying to steal her property or move the fence line or whatever, she hit him in the head with a hammer, and she
She
thought
thought
she
she
killed
killed
him,
him?
and thought she killed him, and so she ran to the sheriff, went to the sheriff, and turned herself in. I mean, you know, she was an upright individual. Everybody knew her in the community, and she went to the sheriff and said, I've killed Brother Thomas or Thompson or whatever his name was." And
Yeah.
they went back, you know, to find the body, and sure enough, he wasn't dead. And she said, "Arrest that man. He's trying to steal my land." And so she wasn't shy, you know, about trying to, you
Taking
know,
care of business.
taking care of business and taking care of herself and her family. And so that property is still in the family today. And actually, our one of our cowboys, Dr. Rufus Green Jr., his dad, Rufus Sr., was a great cowboy. He was one of Cleo's 100 cowboys that went to Harlem in 1971, 72. And then he trained a lot of barrel racers and calf ropers here. And then Rufus himself competed as a young man. Then he went down the road of medicine and became a urologist and a medical doctor. And he still rides. He comes out, rides in our grand entries, because once you're a horseman, you're a horseman. You know,
Yeah.
once you've been around animals and horses and participated, you know, that Western lifestyle gets in your blood. And so you want to keep doing that. You want to keep participating at whatever level you can. And so Dr. Green is basically a nephew. His, you know, great Aunt Riddy, Foster Williams, was a great great aunt of his on his
Mm.
father's side of the family. And so, you know, so that history got passed down. And they're generational things like that. You know, one of the things we did was the tribute to Randy Wills, who Randy was a part of the Gospel Wills family. His grandfather was Bob Wills, the basically the father of Texas swing or country swing music, was
Yeah.
Bob Wills and the Light Crust Doughboys. And so the Light Crust Doughboys is the longest running country band in the world, because they just keep adding people as somebody starts to get sick or somebody wants to
In
retire.
rotation, out rotation.
Yeah, they just rotate somebody new in, and so we'll try to have them on here. Art Greenhall is he was the youngest band member ever, and he ended up taking over from Smokey Montgomery when he got ill, when he had a cancer issue. And so Art's managed the band here for the last 20 years or so, and added people to that. Stephen Pride, who's Charlie Pride's son, he played with the Light Crust Doughboys, so they kept, you know, just bringing in and sharing that diversity. And we had that influence. We had gospel influence in country music. We had R&B influence, had jazz
Yeah.
influence, country influences, Texas swing influence, and country swing music. So those are the things that break down barriers. It's the stories, it's the music, it's the art, it's the food, it's the culture. And it's shared culture, like you say, and all of our different cultures are important. And so, that's why it matters. And it matters that our children understand their history and their heritage. Because if, especially minority kids, if they understand that their ancestors had a part in creating this great country, America, then they have a sense of pride too, and they can say, "Oh, well, for people that look like me participated in these activities, maybe I could do that too."
Yeah.
Maybe your
Well, it
kids would love to
sparks
be
it.
outdoors.
It sparks inspiration to know that there are people doing things regardless of what you're told or what you're uh, led to believe, because
Right.
there's so many things, there's so many opportunities out in the world today that it's really tragic when somebody says, well, I can't do that. Well, just take that word from your vocabulary, because you can. And you have illustrated dozens of examples, if not hundreds of examples, of people that have gone out, made some massive impacts in the world, and making change. Just like Cleo Hearn, he's in the uh, the
Hall of Fame,
Hall of Fame.
the National
Thank
Cavalry
you.
Museum and Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm.
And he just started out because he had a desire. He wanted to do it, and he didn't have anything when he started out. He just started because it's like, you just got to start. That's the first step in moving forward. Just start something.
Yeah, start, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to look for mentors, to look for people that are doing what you'd like to do. Find somebody that's doing what you like to do. You can find them on YouTube. You can find them on social media. All you have to do is search. It's like Charles. He wanted to do bareback riding. You do a search. I mean, we had Donnell Tipton, championship bull rider, on, and he talked about these guys that let him get in the truck and ride with them.
Every weekend he was off to another rodeo.
He was going, and as a bull rider, he didn't need anything but his rigging and his his saddle and his strength, and his mental agility. But when he started steer wrestling, he had to borrow a horse.
Yeah.
He didn't have a horse at first, and then later on he got his own horses, and now he's giving that legacy back to kids, and he's letting kids come out to his ranch in Oklahoma, outside Oklahoma City and Spencer there, and he's helping these kids that want to learn to rodeo, whether they're barrel racers or calf ropers or steer wrestlers or bull riders, and so you can find somebody that will help you and that's willing to help you and willing to share the information about how to do something. The same thing with tech, if maybe you don't want to be in the arena, but there are a lot of opportunities outside the arena: camera, photography, film and video, announcing, it just goes on, training, it just goes on and on and on, selling,
managing the animals, feeding,
right,
taking care of the stalls.
Right. Western wear. We talked to Wild Bill. We talked to Terry Allen, Terry Wells up in Oregon, who's got his own retail store in the back porch. He's got a venue outside the Western store. He sells Western clothing and inside the store, and then out back they got a big area where they have concerts and they have comedy and they have family get-togethers and celebrations. So whatever it is you want to do, you can do.
Well, even concessions. Remember the team that has the restaurant and everything else that's going on?
Right. Yeah. So you've got, Tyrus and them with the Crazy Brother Barbecue. We've got even the Martinez family, who are basically bull contractors. They provide stock contracting. The way they made their money was with the Mexican restaurant. They have a series of restaurants called the Martinez restaurants. They have 3 of those restaurants, and that money allowed
Speaking of criminals,
there we are. Outlaws. Not
Charles, how you doing?
Outlaws.
I'm doing good. What about y'all?
There's our man on the ranch. Charles.
Man on the ranch. We're just checking in and wanted to share a few things with you and the listeners here. So I just jumped on to check in and let people know about all the wonderful content that we're creating here. So
yes, we are.
Happy New Year, by the way.
Yeah, but Happy New Year to y'all too. I just got done riding horses.
Oh,
Yeah.
good deal.
See,
Good
and
deal.
that's the thing. You gotta practice. You gotta ride. These horses have to be fed. They have to be watered. They have to be ridden. They have to be groomed. We were talking earlier, Charles, that whatever you want to do. So maybe it's inside the arena, maybe it's outside the arena. You don't have to be a competitor. There's still a lot of things you can do in rodeo and Western lifestyle that doesn't have to be in the arena. You like you say, you've got a cousin or an aunt that she's doing events, she's decorating, she's putting on
Yeah.
parties, and she's using that Western decor and Western themes for weddings and for birthday parties and for showers. So there's just all kinds of things.
So
So
Charles, tell us what you're up to.
Yeah. So
Tell
I'm
us what
trying
you're
to.
up to there. I
Yeah.
see a saddle on a horse,
Oh yeah. So I just
and I
got done
see
a
somebody else without a halter on.
Oh
So,
yeah, that's Coco. She's an older horse. So if you have like a relationship with like a horse, especially like an older horse, then you don't have to like put a saddle on her or like a halter on her. She'll just go like right up to you and follow you around.
yeah.
And then Black, I'm trying to put him into a rodeo next year, but I can't put him into a rodeo if I don't like a train on him. So it takes about like a year for you to like you to like a rope on him and for him to practice because he has to get used to like the arena lights and the sounds and the roping I shoots and the calves. So that takes about like a year. So if I practice now, I should be ready by like a May or something. So yeah, I'm just practicing on him. And Coco just following me around. She's a retired horse.
Was it Blackie?
Oh yeah, that's Black right there. Yep. Black
Okay, so he was the one that was you had to use the grain to get in the stall, right?
Yep.
That's
That's
on a
him right
previous
there.
episode.
Yeah, he's trying to act like he don't like the camera right now.
He plays hard to get, right?
Yeah, but Coco doesn't. She loves the camera.
Oh, Coco's probably just like a pet, wants to get in your lap.
Yeah, she does. She follows me everywhere.
Good deal. Good deal.
Yeah.
Well, what was the best episode that you enjoyed?
The best episode I enjoyed was probably Jose the circus entertainer because it's weird how you can put the circus into the Western world because he's a cowboy on stilts. So that's probably my best episode that I watched.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
Yeah, for sure. And he wanted to jump on today, but he's already committed. He's got something else going on, an event or activity or something he was doing. And so I told him we would have him back on later on. He could tell us how things were going with Tiny Entertainment, and and so his like you say, he's a guy on stilts, and he's 6, 7, 8 foot tall on his stilts. But his company's called Tiny Entertainment because it was so funny. They'd say Tiny's coming, and then he'd come out and be on these big old stilts, and be 8 foot tall, and everybody's like, "That's Tiny," and so. So yeah, I think that was a great episode. I think Steve Heap, our Native American filmmaker, just such great work about the Native American heritage and about healing and about healthcare and issues on the reservation, as well as wonderful documentary on the Trail of Tears when Indians were forced out of Florida and Alabama and Mississippi and the southern states and moved over to Oklahoma. So it is some of our history is we're not too proud of, but we still need to tell those stories, and so Russ was mentioning the Buffalo Soldiers earlier. That's a great legacy too. After the Civil War, these guys wanted to participate. They had been here in this country. They knew they weren't going back to Africa or back home, and so they moved west to try to find a place and to create a new place for themselves and their families. And
that's why they called it the Wild West, isn't it?
Right, it is. And they had skills of horsemanship and animals and cows, and they had dealt with all those. Oh, there's Blackie. Now he's getting a little interested. He's getting a little he's like, who are those people? Who are those people? Who are those people in that phone there?
I don't want to be a celebrity.
For sure. But yeah, so we got some great things coming up. I was telling people, Charles, we'll have the Diaz family on. We're going to have Art Burton on, who's a great author and historian and lecturer. He's out of Illinois, but he had the first books on Bass Reeves, on marshals and outlaws. He's got a book on black outlaws, and and then the Buffalo Soldiers. So we'll be talking to Art here sometime. Alex Wilcox, he's our fashion designer who's grew up in Tulsa and Dallas, and his family were rodeo cowboys, and so he had always knew about the rodeo, and he knew about his cousins that participated. He never was a competitor, but now he's working with us, and we're going to be working on a legacy collection that we're going to be rolling out. And so we'll be talking to Alex about his experience, with rodeo, and how he wants to incorporate that, because he's got a son now, and he wants his son to know his heritage. And his family were cowboys. They were black cowboys and his white cowboys. His wife is Anglo-European, of European ancestry, and so he wants. Been their ranchers, and they own cows and they own horses, and so he wants them to know that legacy, and have a complete heritage. So we'll be doing that. We'll be talking to these different people. If you haven't subscribed, we ask that you go to our YouTube channel at Wild West Diversity. You can just search that or put that Wild West Diversity symbol in, and it should come up, and you just punch that red button. I think most of the time it's red. Every once in a while I see it's black. But subscribe to our YouTube channel. You also can subscribe to our wildwestdiversity.com. That's our e-newsletter. And that you got to put your email in there too as well. And you just choose none. That gives you the free issue. But that will give you the written version of these stories and these people that we're talking to, these living legends. I thought John Ferguson was very interesting from the UK, because as a kid, he was told that he couldn't be a cowboy because he was black and there weren't any black cowboys. Well, of course, that wasn't true, but that's all he knew, because they were watching the Westerns, on the TV. They were watching those Rawhide and Bonanza and Gene Autry and John Wayne and those guys, and they were all white characters, and so he always had to be the Indian because he was a black. He was an African American, and even though he grew up in the UK and England, and so just fascinating stories and fascinating people that you're going to meet. And so we hope that you'll go back and review those 44 episodes that we've done so far. And we're here every Thursday at 5 p.m. telling a rarely or untold story of a multicultural contribution to the settling of the American Wild West, and also put in the comments if you know somebody, if you've got a great story, you've got somebody we want to interview. Charles is always sharing great people with us. We're going to be talking to the first Miss Black Rodeo. We'll have her on here shortly. We're going to have some other singers on. We talked a little bit about Jay Lee. We played some of Jay Lee's music earlier on in some of our previous episodes, but she's another African American female singer that sings country and rodeo, and gospel. She participates and sings and performs at a lot of these cowboy churches.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, we'll try to have somebody on from one of the cowboy churches too, because there's
also the man on the ranch too.
That's right. Charles will be bringing us some more stories. He's going to be out talking to maybe some farriers. And there's our friend Steve Heath, our Native American filmmaker. So we're glad to have Steve. How are you today, Steve?
Liz, I'm doing fine. I apologize. I'm a little late here, but I've been in a real negotiation on a new project that we just did now agree to, and you and I will talk about
Congratulations.
And a new program coming up sometime soon.
Yeah, that'll be great. We'll have you back on here in 2023 to talk about that. And we appreciate that you came on and shared that your films with us and with our audience, because we've just been talking about how important it is for us to know each other's culture.
Oh, sure.
And how it cross over, and how with the language and the music and the food and the words, it's all a part of having a great life and being open-minded and understanding others. And when we get to know each other, we understand we have a lot more in common than we have differences, I think.
Well, Liz, you and your show does such a great benefit to inform people on that. There should be a lot more, but unfortunately there isn't.
Right. There's not. So there's Charles, our man on
There's
the
Charles.
ranch. I don't know if you met him, Steve, but he's been out riding today. And so he's sharing like how you
Hello.
catch a horse and,
Hey,
you know,
Charles.
He's taking care of animals while he's actually on the ranch right now. So
Yeah, taking care of them because I got to feed them and stuff before it rains.
What part of the country are you in?
DeSoto, Texas.
Oh, well, you're close by.
Yeah, right by Lancaster.
Yeah.
So Charles is Cleo's great grandson.
Oh, okay.
Harlan's grandson. So Harlan is Cleo's oldest son, and so Charles has a twin brother named Cody, and they've been coming to the rodeo since they were babies. I remember when they were about this tall, and they were in the arena, and they had on their boots and their jeans and their vest and their hats and their bandanas. They were the cutest thing, and because they looked just alike then, they kind of they still look a little bit alike, but they've kind of grown in different ways, and they kind of do some different stuff. But so it's fun to have that fourth generation, 4 generations of participants. He's got his uncles and he's got aunts and cousins, and so they barrel race, one of his Rachel barrel races, and so we're always glad to have him, and he's going to be out, doing. So if you've got somebody on the Steve that you think we ought to go talk to that's got a ranch or a farrier or horses or buffaloes or whatever.
I believe we have met in the past, and I probably at the
museum,
the museum or at the rodeo, one of the two.
Yeah. So Steve's you still on the board at the National Multicultural Rodeo and Hall of Fame Museum and Hall of Fame?
I'm the longest standing board member. This will be my 20th year.
Ah, man, it's 20 years. Isn't that great? Wow. So the very first class that we had it had Herb Jeffries. It had Charlie Sampson. It had Murda Steitman. It had Ben. Wasn't Ben there? Wasn't he a part of it? Wasn't he our Native American?
I believe so. We had Quanah Parker.
And so those were the very first inductees at the National Museum and Multicultural Heritage Museum over in Fort Worth, Texas, and so they're keeping that legacy alive over there, and they're teaching kids and adults and children can go through the museum there. They have hours that they're open. They have a lot of artifacts and pictures and trophies and saddles and just all kinds of things that people have donated to the museum over the years. And so we appreciate you, Steve, that you, because it's not always easy to volunteer and find the time to be at leadership because, but we need good board people. We need people that are willing to step up and spend some time and help support these programs because, they got to raise funds. They got to have programming. They got to bring people in and out.
Listen, I have been so fortunate. I've got to give back. That's all.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So we appreciate that so much. We appreciate that you kind of jumped on. Is there share your favorite moment from 2022, Steve, and then maybe your intention for this coming year? I know it's going to be partly this new program, but is there anything else that you can share for 2023 that, kind of, that
I'm trying to think of my high points for 2022. There weren't a lot. I will tell you that, geez, Liz. Well, I purchased
being on our show.
Absolutely, that goes without saying. But I made a purchase of 3 buffalo robes out of South Dakota, off the Lakota Nation, and they are absolutely gorgeous. They are thick winter coated, just beautiful. That's one of my highlights. I just love those. And, our films are still selling. We stayed busy in a small marketing way. We're big in the educational market. So life is good.
And hopefully we can help you too with that educational market because a lot of things we do in addition to our Western thing is we go to like library conferences and things like that. And that's public schools and public libraries and school librarians. So hopefully at those events, we got a big event coming up in Austin in April, the 19th through the 21st. And you want to send us some information, some flyers or postcards or something, and we can distribute those out to those school teachers and public libraries, because certainly your films would be fabulous for those people. And it's astonishing. It's like 85% of people still go into a library and like 35% of people go into a bookstore.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's moms taking kids to learn to read and to get their library cards. And it's a lot of seniors who don't necessarily have as much access at home, and they grew up in libraries. So they still go to the library. They still, they still check out books. And then they also check out e-readers and ebooks and films, and they can download films and things like that. So hopefully we can expand some things for you there, Steve. And we'd always be glad to do that.
Great.
Share that information out with people.
It's just information. It's getting the information out. We're with a large educational distributor that deals with schools, libraries, colleges, universities, and they're very active with our
Yeah,
titles.
they're very active. They're on it. That's good. So, and hopefully, like you say, we catch them coming and going. They'll go, man, we've seen this before. We've heard that before. We meant to do that, because that's a lot of it. Sometimes they mean to do it. They just
need to hear it once in a while.
They get distracted, and and when somebody else comes along and says, hey, I was over here and I picked up this thing and this would be great, and they go back to the library and they go, oh yeah, that's on our schedule, or that's on our plan for the next budget, or whatever, because they get budgets a couple of times a year, the schools do. And then city public libraries, they get a new budget every year because it's based on tax dollars, and so they buy new books every year, and sometimes people don't know that, and so
they never give them enough money.
Right. They never give them enough money, but they give them some. And so good films and good books and good, good stories is what they're looking for. So we appreciate.
And I just want, I'm going to sign off here quick, Liz, but thank you so much for what you do on your show. And like you said, 2022, it was very fun being on your show. I really enjoyed it. We'll do it again. And very shortly, I'll be able to discuss the new project.
Right. That'll be great. That'll be great. And then, like I say, if there's somebody you think we need to talk to, be sure to share that, or tell them to get in touch with me, and, and just say, hey, Steve sent me, and we'll try to get them on and talk to them too, because we need to talk to other, more Native American folks and people that are doing great things in the community, no matter where they are across the country. It doesn't have to be just Texas or Oklahoma or local. We want to be sure that we share these stories from across the country.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Liz. And,
all right. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Steve.
Bye. See you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Charles, for being here.
All right, thank you.
It's like you're getting ready to leave the ranch and go do something else now.
Yes, I am. All right. Thank y'all.
All right.
Thank you so much. Take care.
We'll see you next week. All right. So this is
Liz.
Russ Johns and Liz Lawless, the host of Wild West Diversity. And this is our 45th episode. We're starting season 2. Just unimaginable. I mean, if you'd have told me a couple years ago, I'd have said no. But Russ kept going, Liz, you got to get on video. We got to do these shows. We got to share this information. So thankfully, Russ stayed after me and Todd stayed after me. And so we've got this, the 45th episode of Wild West Diversity. And no, it's the 46th. I'm sorry, I'm 46th show. And so we're kicking off the season here. Come back every Thursday at 5 p.m. If we can't see you here on the show, hopefully we'll see you on the trail.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye. Hello, this is Liz Lawless, your host for Wild West Diversity, where we tell the rarely and untold stories of multicultural contributions to the settling of the American Wild West. Each Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, we'll be sharing a historical legend and a living legend. Someone from history and someone living that Western lifestyle today, keeping it alive for the future generation. We hope you'll join us on Thursday. If not, we'll see you on the trail.